the co-main event at UFC 282 was not without controversy either. Yet again, a large majority of MMA media and fans online and in the arena thought Jared Gordon did enough to defeat Paddy Pimblett via decision. Did you agree with the result? Also, either way, how do you feel about Pimblett's progression towards being a superstar or even bigger superstar, and as well as a world champion? Mike, it's your turn to start things off.
Oh boy, where do we even start with this one, right? Like, what a just crazy ending, crazy decision. I do not agree with the result here by any stretch of the imagination. Sitting cage side, I thought very clearly that Jared Gordon won this fight. I think you could make a case that he won all 3 rounds. I mean, sitting there from my perspective, cage side, not being able to listen to commentary, not getting every single camera angle of all the punches and the replays and stuff, I thought Jared Gordon won this fight pretty clearly. So maybe things will change upon like a further deep dive on a rewatch, but I think a lot of people agree with my sentiment here. And you can see that from all the fellow fighters, the media, scored the fight on MMAdecisions.com. Like, there's not a big section of people who thought Paddy Pimblett won this fight. He might be one of the only few out there, along with like his teammates and his family and stuff. So yeah, this was one that, obviously a pretty big controversy here. I don't know if I would go as far as calling it like the biggest robbery of all time, as we saw a few fighters. I think Phil Rowe tweeted that out, and there was a lot of harsh criticism here. But yeah, you put Paddy Pimblett on this pedestal here and give him this platform, and then an outcome happens like this. A lot of people are going to be outraged, especially when he is already such a polarizing kind of personality. There's a lot of, good that Paddy Pimblett's tried to do with his foundation and the thing he said in his post-fight interviews and things like that. But there's also a lot of, suspect, controversial stuff, things that he tweeted out when he did have a Twitter account before getting banned. So he makes people feel a certain way. And as you talk, George, about trending towards being a superstar, I mean, all the biggest superstars in MMA history have elicited that same feeling out of the fans, media, etc. You love them, you hate them, at least they make you feel something to a degree. And that's what you want as a fighter in the sport. The worst thing that can happen is have people not care about you. But the question is, do the skills align with the push he is getting, the placement he is getting, and how he's kind of being framed maybe by the UFC, by certain other people? And I think right now the answer to that is pretty clearly no. Jared Gordon, we're not trying to disrespect him here by any stretch of the imagination. He is a solid fighter. He's done good work in the UFC, but he is he's outside the top 20, maybe even outside the top 30 as far as ranked lightweights in the world. And we saw how Paddy Pimblett struggled with him, whether you thought he won or lost. This was not a blowout by any means. So for the fight to play out this way, and for Paddy to go and kind of react that, there's no controversy here, I could see how a lot of people are upset. And there's going to definitely need to be some big strides if he hopes to kind of have his actual trajectory in terms of the wins and the climbing the rankings align with the push he is getting promotionally. So there's definitely some work to do for Paddy. I think he should look back at this one with a little more humility and realize that this was not, a dominant fight for him, and that he needs to work on certain things of his game if he wants to compete with upper echelon lightweights. I don't think he's ready for that yet. Maybe he will in time, but if you're comparing it to, a Conor McGregor rise or something, which is obviously the most extreme example, Conor didn't really have any fights like this on his come up to being the featherweight champion. So I don't think the trajectories are really all that similar.
Eagle FC super lightweight Kevin Lee once told us, if you ain't got haters, you ain't popping. So I guess Pimblett is popping because the hate's everywhere. Check out Michael Joel in the chat. He says, liar, liar, Paddy was given a Christmas gift early. There's no way in hell he won that fight. We're 36 hours removed, and you can tell Michael Joel's pissed off. Bada, how about you? Give us your takes on all this.
Yeah, I think what harmed Paddy the most was his post-fight comments, because he fought hard. Like, I went back and watched the fight. You can't fault him. He fought hard. I didn't think he won the fight, but you can't fault him for his performance because he fought hard. I think it's the post-fight comments that kind of hurt him. He didn't necessarily have to be like, I didn't win this fight, because it takes a certain amount of humility. I remember Guram Kutateladze did that in his UFC debut against Mateo Scamro, and he got a lot of respect for that, although that was a very close fight. But he said, I did not win that fight. So he didn't have to go as far as saying I didn't win that fight, but perhaps him saying that I won the first 2 rounds and I coasted in round 3 was probably because how could you coast after the first 2 rounds, right? They were close. Round 1 was super close. I gave it to Gordon just because of that left hook. He kept finding a home for that left hook, and I felt like he had the more impactful strikes. I do believe he outlanded him as well. Round 2 was really close. I think maybe Pimblett could have stolen it at the end of the round, but again, I could make an argument for Gordon winning that round as well. I did give it to Pimblett, and in round 3, pretty much nothing happened. But Gordon was pressing the action. He had him across the cage. He should have thrown more. Would have probably sealed that round a lot easier for him. But regardless, I thought he won that round just because Paddy, yeah, he threw up a couple of knees when his back was against the cage, but you can't give him the round because of that. At the end of the day, it was Gordon pressing the action. And I think one judge gave Paddy Pimblett round 3, and I think that's where the big question mark comes. Was it Doug Crosby? Because since this is where it might have been him. But yeah, that for me is obviously a big question mark because as close as rounds 1 and 2 were, and some people want to give Gordon 30-27, I think round 3 is the one round you cannot give Paddy Pimblett. That's the most definitive thing I can say about this fight. So I scored it kind of 29-28 for Gordon. I see the argument even for him potentially winning round 2, but I just think it was Paddy's post-fight comments that may have hurt him. I don't think his star is going to decrease or anything like that. I still think he's a big star and stuff like that. But yeah, if we're talking about championship level, ranked contenders, all that, obviously that fight showed that perhaps he's not ready for it just yet. But one fight could change everything, right? So just for Saturday night, perhaps we shouldn't be talking about ranked contenders or Ilya Topuria for that matter, or any of that stuff. I think build him a little slow, kind of, they'll find plenty of matchups for him, but no ranked opposition, I think, just for the time being.
Yeah, usually on a fight weekend, when two people have heat like Topuria and Pimblett, we're all automatically thinking, there you go. That's a layup. Let's book them. Not many people are saying, let's do that one. And I think that alone is speaking volumes as far as what we think Pimblett's progression might have been. Superstar, yeah, he's got a lot of fans. No denying that. All right, how about you, Goes? Chime in.
Well, I mean, he walks away with a W, but I feel like it's a step backwards. I think his stock did drop a little bit. But the thing about the sport, and especially these polarizing figures, is they can just kind of rebuild that very quickly. I think it was more his attitude. He had a few outs in this. When he picked up the mic, he did so many things leading up to this fight that you could easily just say, look, this fight camp, I did a little bit too much. I wasn't as focused. I'm going to taper back on that type of stuff, come back stronger. And we probably would have all forgotten about it, right? But he just doubled down. And on top of that, he thought he won fight of the night. The things that were going on in the press conference, not as many people were laughing as they were pre-fight, right? So I do feel like his stock did drop a little bit. You can't compare your name. You can't put your name in the same sentence as a guy like Conor McGregor and then perform like that, right? It's just not going to add up. A guy like Conor McGregor, yeah, he suffers losses and then he comes back and he's still talking, but he has a body of work that you could refer to where you could always point to that and go, well, look what I've done. Paddy Pimblett hasn't done that yet. So if he's going to talk this amount of trash, he needs something to back that up. And right now he doesn't have it. So it just seems ludicrous to even mention his name with any of these other guys. So yeah, I think he's going to have to go backwards here, guys. I really don't know what he's going to have to do. I think fight in England, right? I mean, those people will be behind you and maybe you can start building momentum again. But if I'm him, I kind of go away for a little bit right now.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm gonna jump in. Sorry, I think it was Chris Lee that gave Paddy Pimblett round 3. So sorry, Doug Crosby. Never thought I'd say that, but sorry, Doug. It was actually Chris Lee that gave Paddy 10-9 for round 3. That I don't agree with at all. But yeah, my bad.
Yeah, Crosby dodges that bullet, but we got some other bullets for him.